Coming up tonight, women's basketball advances to the Sweet 16.
Later, beach volleyball recap of Gulf Shores tournament.
And finally, track and field kicks off their outdoor season.
These stories and more on Palmetto State Sports.
From the Blue Ridge Mountains and through the Midlands down to the coast, there's plenty of sports highlights and moments here in South Carolina. There's only one place where you'll catch all the action. This is Palmetto State Sports.
Welcome to Palmetto State Sports. I'm Amanda Baranowski.
And I'm Colleen Sholtis. Thank you for joining us tonight. The madness heightens this March as Gamecock women's basketball is headed to the Sweet 16. After dominating Norfolk State Friday afternoon in the first round, the Gamecocks cruised into the round of 32, where they topped off South Florida to secure a spot in Greenville for the Sweet 16.
Zia Cook had a total of 32 points this weekend, and Aaliyah Boston locked in her 81st double-double on Sunday.
I just wanted to be physical, be that post presence, and defensively, I just try to make it hard on Dulcie. I mean, she's a great post player, very physical, so I just wanted to make my presence known on both offense and defense.
Boston was named a finalist for the Naismith Player of the Year, and head coach Dawn Staley was named a finalist for the Naismith Coach of the Year.
The Gamecocks will face number 14 ranked UCLA this Saturday at 2 p.m., and if they win that game, will move on to the Elite Eight, which will be played on Monday.
Gamecock softball suffered more difficulties in SEC play over the weekend. They traveled to Mississippi State and were swept by the Bulldogs in the 3-game series.
In Game 1, South Carolina pitching had a combined 16 strikeouts during a hard-fought contest. The game lasted 10 innings, but it ended with a walk-off from the Bulldogs. The final score of the game was 6-5 Mississippi State.
Later in the weekend, the Gamecocks still could not find success over the Bulldogs and 2 more losses to end the series. On Saturday, the final score was 1-4, and on Sunday, it was 1-9.
The Gamecocks look for a win tonight as they are hosting Furman right now.
And as Gamecock football completes their 4th spring practice of the upcoming season, position battles have surfaced for the 2023 season.
In yesterday's post-practice press conference, head coach Shane Beamer was asked about the prominence of some of those battles looking at the future of the team. Here's what Coach Beamer had to say.
Perspective. There's a lot. It really is. Quarterback. Obviously, Spencer goes into the spring as the number one, and Luke's done a nice job as the second quarterback. But how does it shake itself out beyond those guys? And does Luke where does Luke, does he maintain that role? Does he continue to push Spencer? Does he not with the other quarterbacks that are in that room with running back? You know, Juju coming into spring is the starting running back by experience, and we got some new faces in that room. The tight end room, it's all new faces. And how does that shake out? You know, what do those guys do? So those guys have been fun to watch. You got 3 transfers that have played a lot of football, and you got 3 true freshmen that are here right now as well at the tight end position. Really 4, I guess, if you count all of those guys that have come in as freshmen, and 3 new starters on the offense, or 3 starters on the offensive line that we got to replace. You know, Marquis Anderson's a true freshman. Watching him, can he help us early? I think every position I'm about to name, Colin, except maybe receiver, you know, and there's.
With 11 practices left, Beamer and Gamecock football coaching staff will continue to evaluate players and their position abilities.
South Carolina baseball traveled to the Queen City yesterday to play UNC Charlotte in a midweek matchup that did not end well for the Gamecocks. In their first midweek loss and second overall loss of the season, Carolina fell 6-2.
The 49ers scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 3rd, while the Gamecocks did not score until the top of the 6th after an RBI from Carson Hornung. Charlotte snapped the Gamecocks' 11-game winning streak, but after a sweep of the Georgia Bulldogs this past weekend, the Gamecocks hope to bounce back in SEC play this weekend against Missouri at home. I know I'm excited to see how baseball is going to do, even though they had this loss. I feel like they've been doing so good this season. It's exciting to see how they're going to play.
I mean, we've been doing so well. I think the best this season in a long, or started the season in a long time. So even though they got that loss, I mean, it was bound to happen at some point. So I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes.
Definitely.
Coming up, SGTV News 4 sports reporter Spencer Ball has a recap of the World Baseball Classic finale. Stay tuned.
World Baseball Classic came to a close in spectacular fashion last night as Japan defeated the United States 3-2 to secure their third WBC championship. These two star-studded teams went back and forth throughout the game, with the U.S. taking an early lead behind a Trey Turner home run in the second inning, his fifth of the Classic. Japan would take the lead immediately after in the bottom of the second inning, behind a Munetaka Murakami home run and a fielder's choice by Lars Nootbaar. Japan would tack on another run in the fourth inning, but the American offense was nowhere to be found until the eighth inning. Kyle Schwarber hit a solo home run off of Yu Darvish to cut Japan's lead to 1. However, the highlight of the game came in the ninth inning. MLB star Shohei Ohtani would take the mound and attempt to close the game for Japan. After walking Jeff McNeil, Ohtani was able to get Mookie Betts to ground into a double play, making it so that he only needed one more out to win his country the WBC. And who else but his Los Angeles Angels teammate and Captain America Mike Trout to come to the plate. In the most anticipated at-bat in the entire tournament, Trout drew the count full. With over 36,000 standing awaiting the pitch, Ohtani delivered a vicious slider, causing Trout to swing and miss, thus ending the game. Ohtani was given the WBC Most Valuable Player Award for his incredible performance throughout the Classic. There was some hesitation by multiple countries and certain players about playing in the WBC. However, after the incredible set of games on display these last few weeks, I'm sure the 2026 rendition of this tournament is already circled on the calendars of many baseball fans. Up next, SGTV News 4 sports reporter Dakota Morris has an update on Gamecock track and field.
Track and field began their outdoor season this past weekend at the Island Relays in Nassau, Bahamas. The women's team was off to a quick start when the event began last Friday, finishing the first day with 5 top 3 wins and placing second in the overall team standings. The men's team concluded the first day of the event with 3 top 3 finishes, placing 4th in the overall team standings. The men's team picked up the pace on the second day of the event, collecting 10 more top 3 wins. Despite this, the men's team remained in 4th place, concluding the event. The women's team collected a duo of first-place wins on Saturday, also concluding the event in 4th place. It's really interesting that we got to be a part of this tournament. It's the first time it's happened since it was scheduled in 2020, but got canceled due to COVID.
Yeah, seeing the team have a lot of success, and as well as being able to go to the Bahamas, can't complain there, huh?
Sweet deal for sure. Beach volleyball wrapped up their 3-day tournament in the Gulf Shores this past Sunday. The Gamecocks got off to a rough start on Friday, falling to the number 3 UCLA in their first match. They made a quick recovery their next match with a win over UAB. They were able to keep the momentum going into the second day of the tournament, where they took a win over 5th-ranked and previously undefeated Loyola Marymount. Saturday evening, they fell to 4th-ranked Florida State, but they closed off the tournament on Sunday with a sweep over Mercer. The Gamecocks returned home to begin preparing for the Gamecock Grand Slam tournament this Saturday through Sunday. And coming up after the break, we have the Palmetto State calendar. Stay tuned.
Before we go, let's take a look at the Palmetto State calendar. Starting off with baseball, the Gamecocks host Missouri for a weekend series with games on Friday at 7 p.m., Saturday at 4 p.m., and Sunday at noon. Later on, they'll head to the Citadel for a midweek matchup at 7 p.m. on Tuesday.
Clemson baseball is on the road tonight. They're currently playing Kennesaw State in a game that began at 6 p.m. This weekend, they visit Georgia Tech with games on Friday at 6 p.m., Saturday at 4 p.m., and Sunday at 1 p.m. After that, they play College of Charleston on Tuesday at 6 p.m., and that game will be held at a neutral site here in Columbia.
And the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers host Texas State this week with games on Friday at 6 p.m., Saturday at 2 p.m., and Sunday at noon. They'll then travel to North Carolina on Tuesday for a 6 p.m. first pitch.
Over to softball, the Gamecocks are hosting Furman right now in a game that started at 5 p.m. On Tuesday, they travel to Clemson for a game at 6 p.m.
Before that game against the Gamecocks, the Clemson Tigers will travel for a series at Georgia Tech this weekend with games on Friday and Saturday at 6 p.m. and on Sunday at 1 p.m. And Coastal Carolina's softball team will play their weekend series at Georgia State with games on Friday at 5 p.m., Saturday at 1 p.m., and Sunday at noon.
Finally, both South Carolina and Clemson's women's basketball teams advanced to rounds of 16 in their respective tournaments. The Tigers have now advanced to the Super 16 of the Women's National Invitation Tournament, and they will host Florida tomorrow night for a 7 p.m. tip-off.
And the South Carolina Gamecocks are a number 1 seed in the Women's NCAA Tournament. They play in the Sweet 16 against UCLA this Saturday in Greenville at 2 p.m.
That's all we have for this week of Palmetto State Sports.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at SGTV Sports, and to keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtvonline.com. For SGTV News 4 Sports, I'm Colleen Sholtis.
And I'm Amanda Baranowski. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great night, Carolina. Forever to thee.